Hey guys, this is XB here, and I thought I'd bring this up real quick. Something I spotted on my news feed on my phone last night, actually. Thought was very interesting. Thought you guys might find this interesting. I've touched before on EA and my thoughts about them before, and the disaster that they're making of the Star Wars franchise and other games too. I mean, their business practices have been pretty poor the past 3-4 years. So anyway, I came across this article that's it's done by a website called Seeking Alpha, which is an investment website. It's not a gaming website. It's not a Star Wars or EA fan base or anything. It's just an investment site for people who want to make money. Well, they did this article says avoid EA. The fun is about to end. That kind of caught my attention. So I opened it up and I did a little bit of reading. I'm not an investor, but I do very mildly follow the stock market just because I, like to be aware of what's going on in the financial world of my country. Anyway, couple of things, and I'll just read through what we can see here. It says a significant profit source for EA is quickly being declared illegal around the world. EA's customer neglect is driving down demand for its games. True. Leading to heavy discounting for many of its new releases soon after launch. EA's mismanagement of its valuable IP is causing significant shareholder value destruction. Insiders are selling stock heavily. Now that's a huge red flag for me right there. Why would they do that if they believe price appreciation is likely? In layman's terms, that means why would people who know people from the company or who maybe work in the company, why would they be selling stock in EA if they have confidence that the stock prices are going to go up? We'll return to that in a moment. EA currently should be avoided, though if it appreciates significantly, it may make a good short. This is the investor basically saying, don't be buying EA stocks right now because they are on their way down at the moment. So we're just going to keep reading here. We're going to come back to this in a minute. Electronic Arts has been popular long, at least on this website, due to its low valuation and strong digital revenue growth. However, now remember, these are investors, so they don't care about the whole controversy, the SJW crap that EA's been doing the past couple years, the disaster that was the second Star Wars Battlefront. I can't even remember it. That's how uninteresting it was. The second Star Wars Battlefront. They don't care about all that. They just care about money. So anyway, Electronic Arts has been popular due to its low valuation and strong digital revenue growth, because of course EA was a great investment at the time. However, consumer sentiment paints a different picture. Okay, I'm just going to keep reading. We'll come back to comments in a minute here. EA's strong revenue and profit growth is coming from the erosion of EA's most valuable asset. Here is the key component in this report: customer trust. EA's strong revenue and profit growth is coming from the erosion. Here's the three keywords: erosion, four keywords. How about that? Erosion of customer trust. This is obviously not sustainable in the long run. EA also faces severe headwinds in many other areas, like the regulation of loot boxes, and competition from emerging game developers armed with free-to-play games. That makes me kind of sad, and I've got a few things to say about free-to-play. EA, even at its current low valuation, is not a bargain and may make a good short if it appreciates significantly. Okay, so we're gonna skip some of this stuff down here, which is very interesting, and I'll link the article in the video once we're done. But so let's go down the list here and talk about it. Okay, so EA's customer neglect. Yes, absolutely. EA has been very rude to their customers. They've been very poor to their customers, and I believe EA made a post on, I want to say, Reddit back when the whole Star Wars controversy was happening about the loot boxes in Star Wars and the total ripoff of its customers. And I'll link that as well. Actually, I'll probably just put it up on your screen once in post edit here. Their article about, in fact, you know what? I really want to look it up.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom.
Not now!
Okay.
Downvote. Here we go. Let's go right here. Negative 683,000. The next lowest one was literally, okay, I don't know what this is. Oh, Thanos did nothing wrong. So the Reddit post that Thanos did nothing wrong got a negative 88,906 score. So Thanos eradicating half of the human population got less than about 15% negative score compared to EA's Battlefront comment. That is impressive. You guys are more downvoted than the guy who murdered half of the universe. All right, we got to visit this here real quick. So here we go. So this guy basically, okay, so to recap, you guys probably all know this story by now, but we'll bring it up again. I guess my ad blocker is not working very well. Anyway, says, seriously, I paid $80 to have Vader locked. This was, as you recall, the controversy about you have to pay money to unlock a character in Battlefront instead of just being able to pay to play them. All right, so here we go. The intent is, this is what EA said, the intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta, they must not have paid much attention, and other adjustments made to the milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per-player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course, attainable, right, via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit are formed blah, 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 blah. Our team will continue to make changes, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so anyway, what had happened was a player did some research into just how much time it would take to earn all of the unlockable content in the game. And I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. I know it was something like 1,000 actual hours of playing, 1,000 straight hours. So basically an unattainable thing. Anyway, so there was that huge backlash. EA ended up going back and this still just blows me away. 683,000 versus 88. That's pretty awesome. So EA ended up going back and significantly changing the way that they did loot boxes in that game, and it's this weird system in Battlefront 2 that just doesn't make sense with the game. Now that you don't pay for loot boxes, these loot boxes are here, but they're stupid and pointless. And anyway, so back to what we were talking about. EA's customer neglect is driving down demand for its games, and that is very true. And they discount their games heavily. I mean, you can get Battlefront 2 for Xbox One. I want to say for about $10 now at GameStop. If you have the Pro membership, whatever, you can get it used for somewhere around $10. You can get it on their Origin store for probably about that much on a good day. And I think I bought mine for $10 because I didn't buy the game originally because I saw the disaster that was the first one, and I saw the way that EA was going with all their loot boxes. So I sort of just waited and said, well, I do want to play the single-player campaign because I enjoy Star Wars stories. So I waited until it was cheap enough, and sure enough, it got cheap enough quite quickly, and I bought it at something like $10 on their stupid Origin thing and played through the whole thing, and I enjoyed the single-player. I mean, it was really fun. The story was cool, but the multiplayer was totally dead by the time I tried it. There's something like less than 100 people playing across the entire world, this AAA title. Anyway, going back to this, so EA's mismanagement of its valuable intellectual property is causing significant value destruction. Yes, major mismanagement there. Insiders are selling stock heavily. Now, that frightens me. Insiders are selling stock. That means something bad is coming for EA. I don't know if their next announcement is going to be a major profit loss for their previous quarter, if they're going to break up the company. Who knows what's going on? But this also makes me kind of happy. I'm sad to see them go down because EA has put out plenty of good titles in the past, but I'm also really excited to see this because finally all of the customers fighting EA, all the customers refusing to buy their games, all of the bad will that's been generated by their poor decisions and their stupid loot box system, finally the chickens are coming home to roost. And I think that some major problem is going to hit EA and it's going to break. So I'm reporting on it before it becomes news. So EA currently should be avoided. Yeah, you think? There was one other thing. Let's see. EA faces severe headwinds. Free-to-play games. Okay, so this was another thing. Now, if they're talking about free-to-play games on PC, I don't really think that's what's taking away from EA's profit. I'd like to think that free-to-play games are a different aspect of the gaming community. They don't really affect these AAA titles. I mean, look at CD Projekt Red. They're making the new Cyberpunk game coming out, and there's plenty of people that will be willing to pay for the $60. I'm guessing it's going to cost $60, the $60 title, or maybe people want to buy the special edition for $100. I know Cyberpunk is one I'm really excited about. I'm going to probably pay full price, and I haven't paid full price for a game in God knows how many years. So I don't think that's necessarily true. Now, this is, of course, from an investor standpoint, so they see things like mobile games, for instance, which are all quote-unquote free to play, but they're really not, because you start the game and within 5 minutes you're wanting to spend real money to get coins or tokens or God knows whatever to advance in the game.
With mobile apps, we now have the ability to make games that are boring and stupid. If you pay for incentives, you're rewarded.
They see all that profit being made because it's a gambling mindset, and these games are designed to take your money, and they think, oh, well, that's why EA is failing, is because now they can't do loot boxes, therefore they're not making as much money. So that's partially right. They've stepped away from the whole loot box mentality because of all the rage and negative feedback that they were getting from doing that. But I don't think that's why their company is doing so poorly, or will be reporting that it's doing so poorly. It's really the goodwill thing. It's the fact that they've burned their customers too many times to count, and finally their customers have just had enough of it. They're not buying their games as much. They're finding out that these games without the loot box system are really not that great. Now this is good news, I think, not because I want EA to fail and do terribly, but because there's a couple things. First of all, I think that this is a good wake-up call for other AAA developers, BioWare among them. I would say CD Projekt Red, but they've committed no sins in my opinion, so good on them. Bethesda is another one, and some others, but this is a good wake-up call for companies like these who have become so corporate that their only goal is to make a profit. I mean, this is a bigger conversation, and maybe I'll do like an interview with other fellow gamers about how much gaming has changed in the past 10 years even, or 20 years if you want to go back to the 90s, how it's gone from being an indie game thing where it's competition between different game developers trying to make the best game possible, to competition between different game developers to try to make the most money possible. When corporate lifestyle came and entered into the gaming world, I think it's really negatively impacted games in many ways. In some ways, it's been a good thing. I mean, we've gotten games such as Battlefront 2 and 1, which had just absolutely incredible visuals, and in many ways were just wonderful, beautiful games. But the downside, of course, was the greed entered into those games, and you had things like loot boxes. So good and bad things have happened because of the corporate hand in gaming. But anyway, so we continue on, and I think that this could also be a good thing because personally, I hate that EA owns the license to the NFL. I hate that I have to go through EA to play a friggin' NFL game. I just bought a game for Nintendo Switch. I've really been enjoying my Nintendo Switch, and I bought this game called Mutant Football League. It's kind of a cheap knockoff of Blitz, which was a great series of games back in the early 2000s. And it's a fun game. You know, it's fun to play football and not play a stupid EA game while playing football. But it just made me sad that the NFL is locked down by EA, that no one else has access to that license. I think that's terrible. Same with FIFA. Yeah, see, they even mention it right here. FIFA and Battlefield and Star Wars. Huge market cap. But one of the things, okay, so back to the financial information. So here is Electronic Arts PE ratio from July 2016 to now, which is January 2018. And you can see at the about midway in 2018, which I think was when Battlefront 2 came out, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And suddenly the company's valuation just dove and now it's below $30, and it's got a little bit of a comeback, but it doesn't look like it's going to sustain that comeback, and it's starting to fall again. So investors are selling from within the company. That is bad news for them. Okay, so we bring it over to our other story. This is a little bit of an older story. This was January 17th, whereas the one you just saw came out yesterday. Electronic Arts downgraded amid slowing FIFA sales, unproven game slate. All right, so we're going to go through a couple of key points here. Non-sports games is precisely the area where EA has the most to prove. Excluding sports game, EA has launched a string of misses. Yeah, you could say that. EA hasn't had too much to worry about in recent years thanks to the FIFA Ultimate Team, the latest chapter. Okay, blah, 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 blah. I don't really care about FIFA. I don't play it, but I know that it is a pretty solid game for them. Okay, so they have a lot to prove, and mixed reviewed games like Need for Speed, and I don't think they mentioned Star Wars here, but it's interesting how investors look at this. Non-sports games is where they have the most to prove. Well, if you ask a gamer about it, we have a much stronger opinion about this. We think that EA has been consistently screwing up every license except for their FIFA title because of their greed. And yeah, see, Star Wars 2, massive fan backlash, yeah, to say the least. Company investors hasn't had, okay, so God, that's the problem with these websites is, especially, you go to like CNBC or Forbes or one of these non-gaming websites, whenever they do reports on gaming companies, the reports are so poorly done. They really need to get some hardcore gamers into their employ to do these reports. But anyway, when EA introduced the in-game money-making strategy in Star Wars Battlefront 2, hordes, yes, many hordes of angry gamers took to social media and Reddit to berate the decision, arguing that the game was structured as pay to win. Yeah, to say the least. The uproar centered around loot boxes and the title's in-game purchases system. Such boxes allowed players to save time by shelling out real money to accelerate the unlock of major characters such as Darth Vader, blah, 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 blah. When EA bought... Okay, so one other thing I wanted to cover was how this whole loot box dynamic is changing, and this goes beyond gaming to actual politics. Many countries, and I believe it's headed by Belgium, but many other countries now have come on board with heavily investigating the whole loot box system and whether it should be considered gambling, which is an interesting take. Should loot boxes be considered gambling? I don't know. I mean, if you think of it that way, then what about mobile games? Because many mobile games obviously play to the whole gambling mentality. They play to that whole addiction, the reward system that pays off in our brain. You know, if I just pay money for this, I will suddenly get all these things, and that dopamine will be released, and I will feel good about myself. So that goes to, and I would love to see mobile games cut down to size, because I think the whole free-to-play system in mobile games is a disaster, and it's disgusting, and I hate it all. But anyway, should loot boxes be considered gambling? A part of me wants to say yes, they should, just because I want loot boxes to die. I think they're a terrible, stupid system. But the other part of me says, hey, if a company makes a game and it has loot boxes in it and it works for them, fine. It didn't work for EA and Star Wars because you can't put loot boxes in one of the most beloved franchises in the history of franchises, you are going to get enormous backlash. But then also there's, what about the children? What about kids who play these games and they're being set up to have this whole mentality of I don't want to say mentality of gambling, but this whole mentality of if I pay money, then I can take a shortcut in this game. And that's a very dangerous route to go, because these kids they're paying their parents money, and they're really using the same chemical processes in the brain that they use when they gamble. So you could be setting up gamblers for life at a young age. That's not safe. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. And I'm happy to see EA failing, or possibly failing soon. I'm also sad because they do make some great games. Much as I may hate their monopoly on the NFL, they do have great NFL. They do have great football games, and their FIFA games are obviously very beloved. They have a huge fan base, but if we have to sacrifice them, for the better good, then let's burn Electronic Arts down and hope that the other big companies learn their lessons from them. So anyway, that's all I have to say. You heard it here first. Well, you didn't hear it here first. You heard it at Seeking Alpha first. Avoid EA. The fun is about to end. So I'm very interested to see in the next month or two what happens to EA if there's a big problem around the corner, a big cloud on the horizon of EA. So we'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. And until next time, this is XB.